Finnegans Wake, Finnegans Wake, Action Hour, Adam Savage. Are we live? I think we're live. All right, here we go, you guys. It's me, Adam Savage, your host. Is anyone out there? And I was supposed to start like a half hour, and I'm always late. You guys know that. Anyways, I picked this time because I thought it would appease both my audience, my massive audience in both Europe and America. That's where most of my audience is. I'm in Japan now, and it's an absurd hour of the morning to be up. And I set an alarm, but it didn't work. But anyways, we're here. I'm here, and it says one other person's here. Maybe more people will show up. We'll see what happens. Oh, Alan says hello, or says yeah. All right, so here we go, you guys. I picked today to talk about this song, which is in a pretty early section of Finnegans Wake, the Ballad of Persse O'Reilly. And just, I recorded my own version on my music channel. If you want to listen to it, there's several other versions online too, you can also listen to. But I'm just going to kind of, Japan, Alan. I'm near Osaka, not in Osaka, but just east of it in Daito. And it's like, what time is it here? 6:40 in the morning. That's what I do. That I get up that early in the morning just for you guys. I'm gonna walk through the Ballad of Persse O'Reilly, which when I came across it in the text, I was like, oh, this is cool. I should record my own version because it would be a good opportunity for me to get to know the text better, and it did. Like I think it's the part of the book that I know best now. It's because I had to read it over and over and sing it and edit it. So I've heard it, I've practically memorized it, and I think that's something you can do with any of the sections of the book. Not necessarily turning them into a song, although you can, but like really get to know it. Because I think once you know just a small part, it'll help the other parts when you get to them. So let's see. Any other final thoughts? I'm still reading, by the way. I was reading more energetically when I was in Thailand because I had weed. Now I don't have weed, unfortunately. But I was reading the shorter Finnegans Wake that Anthony Burgess edited, and I'm still kind of doing that. But since I've been in Japan, I've been studying Japanese pretty intensely, so I'm not reading as much Finnegans Wake, but I am going to get back to it. So, should we begin or should we wait a little longer? I don't know if you guys have any recent discoveries with Finnegans Wake. I have several books now, quite a few books that I'm debating what to read next in Finnegans Wake. One of you was kind enough to send me the Understanding Finnegans Wake book, the book I mentioned a long time ago, that is really difficult to find, even through used bookstores and online used book things. So one of you scanned it and sent me a PDF, which I appreciate so much. And I don't know if he wants to be named by name, but if so, I will in a future episode. But maybe that'd be a good book to read now, because I feel like I'm starting to get to the point where I recognize characters and things that I know that I'm starting to see the general shape of the whole book, but not quite there yet. Still need more work. And I'm going to keep going with the shorter Finnegans Wake book, though, before I get into any more other books. But I have that book. I have a ton of books. I mentioned before that my one of my favorite ebook kind of pirate websites is Z Library, and it had gone down. It had been seized by the feds. But guess what? It's back. I don't know if you guys know this. And they changed it now so that you can get in. So if you guys are into ebooks, there's so many great books on here. I'm going to provide a link. You need to create a login now, though, but it's worth it because there's so many books. pretty much anything you want. You can get it in, you can convert it to Mobi format. You can get it whatever. Like there's so much stuff on there. So maybe I'll upload it there at some point to let anyone else get a copy of that if they want. And of course, the other website that I mentioned for ebooks, you could also pay for ebooks too. But I'm not against that. I'm not for that. I'm just saying that there's other options if you want any book in the world. So yeah, let's start looking at. We have a few people here now. How many people? We have 3 people, it says, and let's start examining this ballad, the Ballad of Persse O'Reilly, and see what it's all about and where it's what I guess what is it? What is this ballad? And it comes pretty early in the book. I want to say about page 47, 40, 44, 47 in the original formatting of the book. And let me read first you guys comment too. Feel free to correct me because I always say, I'm not an expert. I'm just exploring Finnegans Wake myself. But according to Wikipedia, here's what it says. The Ballad of Persse O'Reilly is a song in Book 1 of James Joyce's novel Finnegans Wake, pages 44.24 to 47.32, where the protagonist, HCE, has been brought low by a rumor which begins to spread across Dublin, apparently concerning a sexual trespass involving 2 girls in Phoenix Park. However, details of HCE's transgression change with each retelling of events. Most of chapters 1.2 through 1.4 follow the progress of this rumor, starting with HCE's encounter with a cad with a pipe. The cad asks the time, but HCE misunderstands it as either an accusation or a proposition and incriminates himself by denying the rumors the cad has not yet heard. So rumors spread across Dublin, and they finally become a song penned by the shady character Hosty or Hosty. I don't know. How do you guys think that's pronounced? I'm guessing it's Hosty. Like, it could be Hosty, or maybe it's good that it's ambiguous. But what's your guys' vote, Hosty or Hosty? I'm kind of leaning towards Hosty. Anyways, the Ballad of Persse O'Reilly, described as a scurrilous ran against H.C. Airworker, which recounts the Allfather's fall from grace. So that term, Aran, R-A-N-N, I don't know what language that's from. Have you guys heard that term? Ran. I'm going to put that into Google Translate. You can let it detect the language and see what language it suggests, if it suggests anything. It says English detected. So is there an English definition for ran? I don't know that term. Let's see. Ran definition. We have. It says, it's from Irish. Okay. That makes sense. A stanza, especially of a song. So it's like a part of a song. It says it's from Irish Gaelic. And that's all it says. No word history, no word origin. Merriam-Webster, you've kind of let me down. Let me try another one. What about Wiktionary? It says, no, we have a lot more information. Borrowed from Old Irish, ran. Okay, so it's basically just Irish. I'm not getting from Old Norse, from Proto-Germanic. Okay, so a pretty old word. Anyways, it's this character Hosty or Hosty starts chiming on about this ran, and he sings. the what I get when I was reading the text is the impression is that it's sort of being performed or read or improvised before a live audience, which he's kind of. Obviously Joyce didn't improvise. Well, he could have, but more likely he wrote it, and then that's the format. So throughout this song, there's these interjections from the audience as he's singing. Like they usually pretty complimentary. They're saying like, "Yeah, you're doing a great job, Hosty," and we'll get to those. I chose in my version of the song when I recorded it not to include the interjections by the audience, just because that's like one live audience, and my version was just like the basic song without the audience. And I could have, a lot of people that recorded it on YouTube and elsewhere seem to include the audience, but I just chose not to because I had I don't know, I was lazy. And it was just, it's my version, so I just went with that. So anyways, do I have anything else to add about the song before we get into the actual text? So it's, the parts around the song I still don't know as well as I'd like. So those are the parts that I've read in the shorter Finnegans Wake, and I've kind of got to, but I don't feel I know them nearly as well as the song now. But essentially, the song is, I describe it as a diss track. You hear that a lot in modern rap music, with or not even always rap, but just modern music, where somebody will just write a song tearing somebody else apart, and that's what this song is. It's who is the narrator? I guess it's Hosty, or just somebody familiar. Like it seems to be like the voice of the crowd that has become familiar with HCE, or Humphrey Chimpton Earwicker, or Here Comes Everybody. And yeah, the language is overall pretty clear, but there are a few parts that are that really get into the more obscure, that I can barely understand what is going on. But for the most part, I would say each of these stanzas is, I'm clear what's going on, and I'll give my best explanation. Although there are terms littered throughout the text that are a little ambiguous or unclear to me, but that's okay. I kind of like that. And yeah, so let's get cracking. Let's get into this text. And as always, please, you guys, provide your input and your feel free to argue with me about, if I say that I think this part is about this and you think it's about something else, please chime in and correct me. Or I was just I had a dream. I woke up like half hour ago, and I was recalling my dream, and I realized I went to a movie theater in the dream, and I'm trying to recall the movie that I saw. It was like an Oscar movie, but it had been out like 6 months, so the theater was still kind of crowded though. Anyways, let's get to the story. That's the kind of random interjections I expect from you guys. Okay, so let's begin. So it begins, actually right before it begins, there's music cue. So Joyce makes it clear, pretty clear, that this is a song that is being performed in the text. And it does indeed suck to be out of weed, but you guys can give me like a contact high. If you're high, let me know. I am actually pretty good at picking up contact highs, but I don't know about through the internet, but usually in person when I'm around other people that are high or drunk. I'm not high or drunk. It's too early in the morning for it to be drunk, and I'm not high. So I'm not going to sing it, but I'm just trying to clear my throat. So the first section, the first stanza. Have you heard of one Humpty Dumpty, how he fell with a roll and a rumble, and curled up like Lord Olafah Crumple by the butt of the magazine wall? Of the magazine wall, hump helmet and all. I watched Anthony Burgess's version of this, and it's pretty painful for me to watch. I feel like my version is much more musical. No offense, Anthony Burgess's Ghost, but Alan's telling me they just smoked, got some sativa going. I think sativa is probably the best for well, I don't know. Like indica, you get more like a dreamlike, and you're like more likely to see imagery. But sativa, I tend to prefer sativas for working and writing and reading and music and whatever. So welcome on board to Planet Sativa. Okay, so the first stanza, uh, we get kind of an invocation in which we're kind of gently led into this character portrait that we're going to get of HCE that is really tearing him apart by this hosty guy. And oh yeah, maybe go check it out before or after, whatever. But I'm gonna kind of not really sing it now, but I'll I'll just kind of uh, give it a musical flair if I can. But okay, so have you heard of one Humpty Dumpty? So it's this is kind of something I mentioned in an earlier episode about how HCE is sort of equated with Humpty Dumpty, and that Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Something kind of interesting that I looked at the history of Humpty Dumpty, that nursery rhyme, and it's kind of we I think we associate him with that the image of the egg, but apparently there's nothing in the text that says that Humpty Dumpty was an egg. That was just a version of the illustrated version of one of the stories in which he was drawn as an egg, and that kind of became our standard edition. And then in Alice in Wonderland, he's drawn as an egg by Tenniel, but the original version, he's not an egg. There's no indication that he's an egg. Yeah, Tim Finnegan had a great fall as well. Yeah, so this equation of character with all these different things of HCE with Humpty Dumpty, of HCE with Tim Finnegan, of HCE with just the general descent from spirit into matter of the human race and so on. So all these things can be equated, but the character here is not calling him HCE, he's calling him Humpty Dumpty. And on the Finnwake.com website, there's annotations, but some of the annotations are not that good in my opinion, or they're just very obvious, or they're just so I can only add so much to them. But curled up by the magazine wall. Let's see. Yeah, so how he fell with a roll and a rumble and curled up like Lord Olafah Crumple. I'm on my iPad. I need the text version though, because who is Lord Olafah Crumple? That's somebody I don't know. The impression you get throughout this is that these are Joyce is very good at creating things that sound like there's something that you know and should know, or that there's something that are going to occur again later in the text or earlier, but they don't usually. they're usually just like one-off references that he'll drop. And so, like, let's see, we have Lord Olafah Crumple. A roll and a rumble too. There's this thunder word. I forget how many letters it is, like over 100 or something. That is repeated that's included several times in the text, and so that roll is kind of equated with that thunder too as well. That loud fall into matter, fall into history. Paradise Lost is also about a fall. And the fall from the descent, or the eviction from Eden of Adam and Eve. So to curl up, to collapse, crumple. It says in this annotations, a crushed fold or wrinkle produced by compression to become incurved or crushed together. I don't know if that really helps. That seems pretty obvious, but I don't know who Lord Olafah. What Olafah means. There's an annotation here, but there's nothing in the annotations. What does Olafah mean, you guys? What's your thoughts on that? And I noticed later in this, we're going to get some Norwegian included. Joyce he was familiar with Norwegian from Ibsen. That kind of was his prompt for learning Norwegian. But I don't know if Olafah is in any language. That's the kind of thing, though, that I'm going to look in Google Translate. Well, actually interesting, when I put Olafah in Google Translate to detect the language, it says Yoruba, and it says the owner. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know where's Yoruba? Yoruba, is that an African language? I believe it is. Spoken in West Africa. Now, did Joyce know this, that Olafa was the owner in Yoruba? It seems questionable, but who knows? Who knows? Alan is saying thunder words are 100 words each, save the last line, which is 101 words. There are 101 thunder words in Finnegans Wake at all. I did not. So they're different each time. Is that the case, Alan? I thought they were the same, but I guess yeah. I haven't scanned every one and looked for. Are there really 101 of them? I thought there was only like 6. But Alan, you're probably right. So let's get back to the text. So the butt of the magazine wall Magazine wall. What is a magazine? I mean, I think of the modern word magazine, but I think my alarm just went off. Useless alarm. Why did it go off at 7? I swear I set it for like 5:15 in the morning. Anyways, that's my wake. Alan says the thunder words are different each time, and there's 101 of them. Okay, I'll take your word for it, and I'll as I descend further into Finnegans Wake and read it, we'll look that up, or I'll look at each one and examine them. So back to the magazine wall. So magazine, isn't that connected with like a military term? I feel like that's what magazine is. Definition. Yeah, supply of cartridges and guns. So there's kind of this military feel to it. Yeah, so moving on. Let's move to the second one. So he was one time our king of the castle. Now he's kicked about like a rotten old parsnip. And from Green Street he'll be sent by order of his worship to the penal jail of Mountjoy. To the jail of Mountjoy. Jail him in joy. So he was one time king of our castle. This is, again, that whole theme of like the High Father, or the kind of like all these different collapses of something, Parnell, of some Old Testament God being collapsed into some New Testament God. He's kicked about like a rotten old parsnip. So it's just this general turn of events in which somebody has been brought to a lower state. Now from Green Street, what is Green Street? Green Street is Dublin Castle. Was first built on the site of an early Danish fortress by Henry de Londres, London. Until 1921, the castle was the official residence of Lords Lieutenant, the high quarters of British administration, the hated symbol of British rule. There's a song in a children's game. I'm the king of the castle. Get down, you dirty rascal. Okay. But Mountjoy is prison between NCR and Royal Canal. But we don't have a annotation for Green Street in these annotations. They're very disappointing sometimes. So I don't really know what Green Street is. If anyone can enlighten me, feel free to. Parsnip, we said. Okay. I didn't know. One thing I was thinking as I read this, the penal jail of Mountjoy. Penal, it just means like relating to like prison, right? So it's kind of redundant. But I think Joyce, any chance he can include a pun relating to penis, I think he will do it. So I think that's what I'm seeing there. Let's move on to stanza 3. Actually, let me make sure you guys haven't said anything about this stanza. All right, we're good. Stanza 3, we have, he was father of all schemes for to bother us, slow coaches and immaculate contraceptives for the populace, mare's milk for the sick, 7 dry Sundays a week, open air love and religion's reform, and religious reform, hideous in form. So the beginning of this one I kind of liked because I feel like I've read that HCE, I don't know where I read this, but confirm or deny this, you guys, that HCE has a stutter. So I chose to read this father as like a stutter, that the hosty guy was kind of making fun of HCE, his stutter. So he goes, he was father of all schemes for to bother us. And of course also like the High Father theme of that, all that jazz. Slow coaches and immaculate contraceptives for the populace. So he's sort of like this character who is introducing all these innovations into society and civilization, but with their introduction, they bring lots of problems, and you also examine the character of the originator and tear him apart and so on. So, mare's milk for the sick. What is a mare? I think it's too early. I'm forgetting a lot of basic words. A mare is like a young horse, or wait, a female horse or other equine animal, especially when fully mature or of breeding age. Okay. Sorry, I'm not up on my farming terms, you guys. 7 dry Sundays a week. Well, that was kind of an interesting image because 7 dry Sundays a week, it's like introducing, like Sunday is kind of like the day of the week in which you don't drink, right? It's like the church day in old history. So making 7 dry Sundays a week, it's like every day is a Sunday. I don't know. Open air love and reform, religious reform, hideous in form. So it's just basically HCE is like this character who is like a transformer of historical processes. He changes things and introduces them. And initially, people are kind of excited by his innovations, his contraceptives, his slow coaches for the populace, and so on. So that's what so far. The first 3 stanzas are pretty straightforward. I'm not having much trouble reading them, but hold on, you guys. There will be more challenges to come. So, Ara, we're on stanza 4. Ara, why, says you, couldn't he manage it? I'll go bail, my fine dairyman darling, like the bumping bull of the Cassidys. All your butter is in your horns. His butter is in his horns. Butter his horns. All right, so Ara, that again is an Irish term. It means like, what does it mean? Like hay or well? Like it's just kind of a attention grabbing worm. Why, says you, couldn't he manage it? Why couldn't HCE keep his cool? Why couldn't he keep things going well? And the answer, I'll go bail. I'll go bail. I had not heard that term. Again, I think this is an Irish term. It means I am certain, according to the annotation. So, my fine dairyman darling. We talked about, we've had some milk imagery, mare's milk for the sick, and now we're getting my fine dairyman darling. Like the bumping bull of the Cassidys, all your butters in your horns, his butters in. So a lot of very dairy imagery going on here. And with, we're talking about bulls, I was reminded of in Ulysses, the imagery with Bloom, the cuckold imagery of, how is it used in Ulysses? Like I can't remember that he used he used something like relating to for Bloom, like being having his horns. I feel like that imagery occurs there as well. Feel free to correct me, you guys, but having your butter in your horns is just saying like you're not producing you're not producing your milk or your I guess for a man more like his his semen or his sexual milk to it's not in the right way. It's like in his horns rather than in his genitals, I guess. So a lot of dairy imagery. Alan is saying immaculate contraceptives. Yes, when HCE gets nervous, he stutters. Okay, thank you for confirming that, Alan. I swear I had read that. Um, no drinking on Sundays. They close the clock. I remember in Ireland how the grocery stores would, like, they'll in the morning they'll cordon off the aisle of the alcohol, and you're not allowed to go. That just seems so, I don't know, just so ridiculous to an American like me. Like, because the idea of having alcohol but not selling it in the store is just as if like keeping you from the alcohol at that time of day. It's just very funny. 1 second, you guys. I need to take. There's a sound I need to obliterate in the background. Let me hold on so I can give. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. My faucet was dripping and it was driving me crazy. So, anyways, where are we? Okay, so after this butter his horns part, we get a interjection. This is where the audience that is watching or listening to Hosty, I don't know where this is taking place. It's like a bar, like a drinking house, a public house. Anyways, someone in the audience says, "Hurrah there, Hosty!" Actually, he says Frosty, so that kind of suggests to me that the pronunciation is Hosty, because it seems like it would rhyme, right? So actually, I think I've just changed my mind. I'm going to pronounce it Hosty. So, hurrah there, Hosty, Frosty, Hosty! Change that shirt on ye. Change that shirt. What does that mean? That sounds like like the audience is saying, like, you're so cool, we're gonna give you a new shirt, which is like a funny idea. So change that shirt on you. According to the annotations, what does it say? There's nothing in the annotations. It's like underlined, but then you get there and there's nothing. So I'm just gonna have to go on my own instinct that change that shirt means like we're gonna give you some cool new shirt because you're so cool with your rhymes. And they say, "Rhyme the Rand, the king of all Rands." And actually, I was looking in the annotations, and there's something. It says Roberts. I don't know, the Proverbs of Wales, 59. It says the butter is in the cow's horns. That is when she gives no milk. When she gives no milk. Okay, yeah. And then before the final interjection, after the rhyme the Rand, the king of all Rands, says Balbaccio Balbuccio, which sounds Italian to me, but I don't know what it means. In the annotations, it says Balbutis means stammering, stuttering, lisping, and balbo, which is Italian, and stuttering accio, it, pejorative. So it's basically just, again, referring to HCE's stutter. All right, so let's get back to Hosty's next stanza, which is, so this one was where Joyce starts to really, so Joyce includes the actual music or the melody line in Finnegans Wake itself, which uh, I think I heard that yes, he wrote it, but it's kind of based or very similar to some other piece of music. I don't know, but he in this section though is where he kind of starts to really cram in a lot more prose than would be really possible if to sing at a normal rate. So I chose to kind of speak this part in my version because it was just so much text, and it gets even worse coming up. And it's kind of, I think if you record a version, you do your version of the song, you kind of have to decide if you're going to either speak the song really fast or you're going to um, you're gonna have to like change the melody a little and expand it because there's a lot of text. So here's how it goes. It goes, we had cha-cha chops, chairs, chewing gum, the chicken pox and china chambers, universally provided by this soft-soaping salesman. Small wonder, he'll cheat everyone, our local lads nicknamed him. When Chimpton first took the floor with his bucket shop store down Bargain Way lore. Okay, so I like this one. So we seem to have shifted uh, from HCE being just like this innovator to being more of a salesman of it in the store. And again, I'm recalling in Ulysses when I think Bloom had a store. Or he worked in a store at one point. So I'm basically this character of HCE reminds me a lot of both Bloom and Joyce in that he was kind of coming up with schemes to make more money a lot. And uh, we had cha cha chops. I don't know what cha cha chops are. What are cha cha chops? According to uh, the notes actually say chow chow chop, which is the last boatload of sundry small packages sent down to a cargo ship to complete her loading. Um, but Joyce changes it to cha cha chops, so I'm not clear entirely what that is. Chairs, chewing gum, the chicken pox. I like the idea that he's selling chicken pox. Like, in the midst of all of these useful things, there's a childhood disease that he's selling. And china chambers. I don't know what a china chamber is. If that's like it sounds kind of like an Iron Maiden to me, or some kind of torture device, or some physical like coffin or something. But maybe it's like actually a chamber, like a chamber of politicians. Who knows? Universally provided by this soft soaping salesman. Soft soaping, according to the annotations, is to soothe or persuade with flattery or blarney. And I think this comes down to this facet of both Joyce and Bloom and I guess to ACE, to be able to convince people and use the power of his voice, but also when he gets kind of knocked off the pulpit to not be so esteemed. It's getting. Before I started this, I turned on my heater because it's cold here, as you can see by my hat thing. Oh, and Alan is mentioning cha-cha as the dance, of course. Did the cha-cha dance exist? I feel like it came later, but let's see. When did the cha-cha dance begin? Cha-cha. When was that available in Joyce's time? A dance of Cuban origin. It is a dance. Is danced to the music of the same name, introduced by the Cuban composer in the early 50s. So it didn't exist in Joyce's time. But that's okay. I like the idea of always incorporating things afterwards. Why not? And let's see. Alan was also saying maybe he threw up on his shirt. Which part did he throw up on his shirt? Could you clarify, Alan, what you're referring to? Let's see. Oh, change that shirt. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. maybe he was so drunk and delirious with his song that he threw up on his shirt. I like that idea, Alan. That's funny. But also like the idea that normally when you do something like gross, like throwing up, you're not esteemed. You're kind of like disgusted. But if you're doing something so cool that this is like this idea that if you're doing something so artistically amazing that people will overlook it and it'll actually be kind of interesting. It'll be kind of something that you can get away with a lot of things when you're in that zone high creativity. Like people will overlook even your disgusting vomit on your shirt. um, let's see. So where are we? Small wonder he'll cheat everyone. So again, of course, this is an HCE reference, but we start to see that uh, we're shifting from him being an innovator to being somebody that people are suspicious of, and uh, he's earned this nickname. He'll cheat everyone, and this is so we hear a lot about rumors floating, and I think this is kind of the beginning of where people are talking about HCE in a negative way, and I think a lot of Finnegans Wake is about this, how people are depicted and viewed by other people, and viewed in the media, and viewed the kind of Overton window on an individual character of how people are esteemed. Um, oh, we have a new comment from Joan Vega. I'm 20 minutes behind. Olofa Crumple. Oh, that's a great, here, Joan, I don't know if you're a man or woman, but it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that you're saying Olofa Crumple can refer to Oliver Cromwell. That's a very good idea. I think that is probably what Joyce intended, and I'm surprised I didn't see that myself. Hold on a second, guys. I need to turn on the heater, and hopefully the heater will not be too loud. Just a sec. All right, back. Let me know if the heater does become too loud, because it's right above the microphone, but it's not. Anyways, doesn't matter. It is good ribbing of Oliver Cromwell, says Kevin Smith. Yeah, I think you guys just cracked that mystery. So Oliver Cromwell. I want to see if how can I connect Oliver Cromwell with. Didn't Oliver Cromwell have a fall as well? One of the most important statesmen in history. The leading advocate of the execution of Charles I, which led to the establishment of the Protectorate. He ruled as Lord Protector until his death. He remains a controversial figure. So I think that definitely connects with HCE. He's a controversial figure. So yeah, great points, you guys. You've unlocked, I think, that part for me, anyways. So where are we? He'll cheat everyone. Our local lads nicknamed him. When Chimpton first took the floor. When in my version of this, I synchronized that line. He first took the floor with the scene from Three Stooges, in which I think it was Shemp. Not I forget which of the Three Stooges. One of them gets punched by this woman and knocked on the floor. So I kind of wanted to synchronize that. Actually, in my version, you should go watch it, you guys, because I include lots of imagery that is just random, not random imagery, but it's all about like people getting in. I think this is the great part about this character of AC, is that it is transferable to so many other people throughout history and fiction. That was what I was trying to do in my video. So go watch my video and hear my version of it. Kevin is saying Cromwell was a brutal subjugator of Ireland. Yeah, I do remember that as well. So so HCE, it's yeah, I could see that, like him being both somebody that people kind of have to look up to, but also somebody who they resent. And my heater did not come on. I turned it on and it did not happen. Work. All right. Back once more. Yeah, so go watch my version for the part where HCE gets punched on the floor, or one of the Three Stooges gets punched on the floor, and has his fall as well. With his bucket shop store. What is a bucket shop? I guess a shop that sells buckets. Kind of has this image of kind of a hardware store. That's what that provoked for me. Bucket shop, a retailer of cut price goods, aiming to undercut the market by working outside the official system. So it sounds kind of like a black market, or it's kind of like an illegitimate or a not fully sanctioned way of doing business. So I kind of like that image. Down Bargain Wig lower. I don't know what Bargain Wig, if that's some street in Dublin or sounds like some street in Dublin. If anyone knows, let me know. All right, we're going to move on to the next stanza. So snug he was in his hotel premises, sumptuous, but soon. By the way, the heater's on, so it's this is the noise level we're going to have for a few minutes at least, you guys. So snug he was in his hotel premises, sumptuous, but soon will bonfire all his trash tricks and trumpery, and 'tis short till Sheriff Clancy'll be winding up his unlimited company, with the bailiff's bomb at the door, bim bam at the door, then he'll bum no more. So snug he was in his hotel premises, sumptuous. It just suggests that he's doing well and he's kind of cut off from the common people, that he's kind of been elevated to wealth and status, and he's doing but he's kind of isolated in his hotel. He's like in his kingdom, and but the tide has turned against HCE, and soon will bonfire all his trash tricks and trumpery. I think basically it's just like saying that, you know, his tricks and his smooth talking, or, you know, his stutter talking. We're no longer going to fall for his tricks, and we're going to send the sheriff to his door and tear down his illegal company or black market processes. And Sheriff Clancy, according to the annotations, I kind of remember this. Long John, I thought it was Long John Fanning. Am I misremembering in Ulysses? But it says in the annotation, Sheriff Clancy, Long John Clancy, mentioned in Ulysses as then Sheriff of Dublin, plus Mac Flancada, Machlana, son of Flancad, ruddy warrior. I don't know what that's talking about. So anyways, basically, we're going to send the sheriff to your house, and the bailiff's going to, basically he's going to be arrested and taken away. He'll bum no more. He'll not be such a parasite on our civilization. Let's move into the next section. Actually, I see in the comments, let's see. Alan is asking for a link to my version. Absolutely. It should be in the information for this video, but let me put it in the chat as well, you guys. Let's see. So, YouTube. On my music channel. And I, as always, I encourage you guys to subscribe to my music channel, because I intend to do more Finnegans Wake music at some point. I should definitely do the the song Finnegans Wake itself. I'll probably record my version of that at some point. And let me know, are there other great songs in Finnegans Wake that Finnegans Wake references that my version of the ballad. Yeah, so hold on a second, I need to blow my nose, you guys. Alright. That's my version. Yeah. What other songs are prominent in Finnegans Wake? Or Ulysses too. I know there's, I did link at one point to a song list from Finnegans Wake. So just, what are the most relevant songs? I know Finnegans Wake, the Irish Drinky song, is certainly a relevant song. So I want to do my version of that. But are there any other major songs, or would you say the ballad and Finnegans Wake are the two essential ones? Because doing this song has helped me enormously with the understanding of the book, I think. I did similar things with Ulysses. I would kind of like research some particular aspect very well, and it just every time that is referenced again in the book, it just lights up my understanding of the book. All right, let's get back to the text. So we have, where are we? Sweet bad luck on the waves washed to our island, the hooker of that Hammerfest Viking, and Gaul's curse on the day when Eblin Bay saw his black and tan man o' war, saw his man o' war on the harbor bar. Kevin Smith is saying, and I hope you're the Kevin Smith that directs movies. I think I've mentioned it. I think you've been here before, I remember. A Nation Once Again features a few times in the wake. A Nation Once Again. Where is that is that in the ballad? A Nation Once Again? I'm not clear what you're referring to, Kevin, but feel free to clarify. So, yeah, I'm not seeing something about a nation once again, but maybe it's something earlier. So, in this part, we're at the sweet bad luck on the waves washed to our island of way. This kind of reminds me of the Tristan and Isolde theme that I talked about in an earlier episode of the Finnegans Wake Action Hour. Go back and watch it, you guys. And so, but also just like the kind of like the outsider coming to their shores. The hooker's prostitute, of course, but according to the annotations, it's also a two-masted Dutch coasting or fishing vessel ship, depreciatively or fondly. Depreciatively? Is that a word? Depreciatively? I think it's just deprecating of that Hammerfast. What's Hammerfast? Hammerfast is, we don't have an annotation. We have an underline. Maybe this website is like underlining parts that it wants to annotate in the future. I don't know. Hammerfast. The hooker of that Hammerfast Viking. What is Hammerfast? I mean, it's like a fast hammer. That's all I can think of, like a hammer. But I feel like it must be punning on some other word that I'm missing. Hammerfast. The hooker of that Hammerfast Viking. So the ship of that, that fast as a hammer Viking. And Gaul's curse on the day when Eblina Bay. So Eblina, I was not clear where this was. I looked it up, and apparently it could be near Dublin Bay, but it could also be north of Dublin. But either way, it's basically along the Irish coast. And Gaul's curse on the day when saw his black and tan. So basically, it was a sorry day when his ship came to our shores. Is basically what it's saying. That's the summary of that section. And let's take a look at the next section. Oh, Alan is saying, or actually, let me jump back. So Kevin is saying, not in the ballad, but throughout the book. Oh, okay, a nation once again. Yeah, I'll have to keep my eyes peeled for that line. A nation once again. And Alan is saying, hammer. Is it connected to Thor? Thor, of course, had his hammer. Yeah, that's a great point too. Because actually, we are coming up. We will get. I think Thor does show up. Let's see. I believe that's coming up. Yeah, very soon. Well, Thox, but Thok could be hammer. That's a good point. So let's see. So where are we? So the next stanza we're at is, "Where from?" roars. So this is a great example of. I would say this stanza is for me the most murky and difficult for me to read and understand. I don't totally understand this one, but I kind of like this one because it definitely has some Norwegian parts in it. Og is Norwegian for and. I there are some Norwegian words thrown in. So where from roars Poolbeg. So apparently Poolbeg. I don't know who Poolbeg is. It's some. Let me read it first, and then I'll annotate it. So, where from roars Poolbeg. Cooking a pence, he bawls. Donnez-moi scampadel, whippin' fampany. Fingal Mac Oscar one sign Barjars Boniface. Thox min Gamelhol Norvegikers moniker. Og as I are at Gamelhor Norvegikers cod. Norwegian Camelot cod. He is big god. Okay, so a lot of very difficult. So it starts off pretty straightforward. Where from? In other words, where is HCE from? Where did he come from? And uh, this, again, I don't know well enough, but I feel like there's implication that he's Norwegian, right? Isn't that something that's included in other parts of the book, that HCE has come from Norway or Scandinavia, somewhere in Scandinavia? And this jump into all this Scandinavian or Norwegian language seems to suggest that. Cooking up hence, he bawls. So cooking up hence, where is that? It says Copenhagen. Is that really what cooking up hence is? Copenhagen? I feel like cooking up hence must be some actual place, though. In England or Ireland, cooking ham, cooking ham. I'm not getting anything. It's cooking happens. Cooking happens did not match any documents. What about cooking ham? Cooking ham is. I'm just getting places in America. Not really anything coming up when I Google this stuff. So if anyone has any ideas about where cooking up hence is, and the annotations just say Copenhagen, which Denmark is possible. That there just seems to be a general Scandinavian reference to it. Donnez-moi scampital. Donnez-moi is French for give me. Scampital. What's scampital? Scampi prawns. Wicken whippin fampany. Bambini. So this is very, very hard for me to read and understand. So it's basically saying, where's HC from? Cooking up hence, which is apparently Copenhagen. He bawls, give me shrimp, give me prawns. Wicken whippin fampany. I don't know what this is. You guys help me out here. This part is not clear to me at all. Fingal, Mac, Oscar, one sign, Barjars, Boniface. So these all seem like names. And Finn's name is Macpherson's in Ossian poems. Fingal is a Scottish hero who comes to Ireland to fight the Danes. The Irish called certain Norse invaders Fingal, meaning fair stranger. So basically he's an outsider coming from the northern lands, the Scandinavian region. Thox min Gamelhol. Thok, that sounds like Thor. That, mine, Gamel, old ancient. Gamel. So actually Gamel, it says in the annotations, is Danish for old or ancient, but it's also Gamal in Hebrew, which is camel. It's very possible that Joyce was thinking of both. Gamelhol Norvegikers moniker. Moniker is like a name. And so he has like this Norwegian. So my take on this is that these are just all different names that kind of fluctuate through HCE's life and existence. These are just different titles for his identity. Fingal, Mac, Oscar, one sign, Barjars, Boniface. Boniface sounds like good face to me, but Barjar sounds like fat ass or something. Barge, like a barge. Anyways, Thox min Gamelhol, Norvegikers moniker. That's my old Norwegian name. That's my old. That's how I read that line. And again, I don't think it's always good to say that this means this and that's all it means. It's good to leave it open. Og is I are at Gamelhol Norvegikers cod. I don't know what that means. Og says in the annotations, King of Bashan, a giant, and is Danish or Norwegian for and. Cod, a codger. I was thinking fish. Like there's something fishy about him. Camel, a great awkward. Oh, again we have camel. So that does suggest that with gamel hole, that Joyce was thinking of the Hebrew camel. A Norwegian camel, old cod, he is begod. Hmm. A Norwegian camel, old cod, he is begod. Yeah, so I think basically this very twisty section stanza that we have here. This is probably the most difficult one. Is basically just saying that he's from Scandinavia. He's from Norway or from Denmark, and there's this fishy aspect about him, camel aspect about him, and so on. All right, let's see if you guys have any comments before we go on. We do. So Kevin's saying, I think Poolbeg, the Poolbeg Lighthouse. Oh, I'm not aware of this Poolbeg Lighthouse. Where is that? Is it in Ireland? Let me Google that. Poolbeg Lighthouse. Poolbeg Lighthouse is indeed. So is an active aid to navigation at the mouth of the River Liffey near Poolbeg in Dublin, Ireland. First established in 1767. It initially operated on candle power. How does a candle, can one candle really act as a lighthouse? Or do they have like hundreds of candles? I'm not going to look into that right now, but where's Poolbeg? Let's look and see. Poolbeg is an artificial peninsula extending from Ringsend, Dublin. And Ringsend is just, is that closer to the north or the south of the bay in Dublin? Come on, Wikipedia, give me a map. Ringsend, okay. With Irish Town and Sandymount. Okay. All right, so that helps a lot. Thank you, Kevin, because I was not aware of that Poolbeg Lighthouse, and that adds a lot. Alan is saying Finn McCool. Finn McCool, as in Poolbeg, or Finn McCool, as in what, Alan? Pope Boniface. Oh, okay, Pope Boniface. Yes, it is in Dublin Bay. Okay, yeah. So, great help, you guys. I appreciate it. Poolbeg Lighthouse. Something I'm gonna have to. So is Poolbeg Lighthouse still there? Is it something you can visit? Because if so, I'll have to hunt it down my next time I'm in Dublin. Poolbeg Lighthouse. It was redesigned and rebuilt into its present form in 1820. So it is still there. It's a red lighthouse. Looks like it's about 2 or 3 stories high. I'll have to visit there. Maybe. All right. Let's keep going. Where are we? Oh wait. So I wanted to look at that Poolbeg reference for now that I know that it's a lighthouse. Poolbeg. Oh, where from? Roars Poolbeg. So in the song, Poolbeg is actually a character. It seems, unless the lighthouse is talking, which I'm okay with. That's quite possible. Actually, as a lighthouse, that's going to be the first person or the first thing that sees HCE arriving from the ocean. So I kind of like how he's anthropomorphizing the lighthouse, or it could be the lighthouse owner, or who knows. But somebody, Poolbeg, or somebody at Poolbeg is explaining. Cooking up hence. He's from Copenhagen, he bawls. Donnez-moi capital. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Actually, no, before we get on to the next stanza, we have an interjection, another interjection from the audience. Lift it, Hosty, lift it, ye devil, ye. Up with the rhyming ran. So he's just saying, keep cracking away at this awesome song that you're rapping away at. I wanted to mention, I forgot I have some notes. Let me look at the notes before, see if I've omitted any major thing. I was thinking about, let's see. I had something to say about rap music. I thought I had something to say. I don't see it now. I thought I wrote some amazing note about rap music and this. Well, I was thinking that I think what I was trying to remember was that. Oh, here it is. So I talked earlier about how some of the lines have way too many words if you're gonna keep to the original melody line that Joyce includes in the book, which I think it's with all these songs that people do their own versions of. It's I don't think Joyce is like saying you have to do it this way. It's all about like making it your own and doing it however you want. So you could do like I did and try and cram the words in really fast, or you could spread it out. But I think though if you do try and cram it in really fast, it forces you to kind of steer away from the melody line a little and enter into a sort of rap music, not rap, but like where you're just not singing so much connected to the melody line. And with rap music, did people think that modern hip hop began like in the late 70s, early 80s with sampling, like that was kind of like the key innovation. But rap music itself, or rapping, which is deviating a little from the melody line, like I've said, is something that existed well before then. That is in old blues songs. There was a course, I think it was on the Great Courses, or the teaching company. They had a course called. It was about blues music, and the guy talks about how rapping did exist in like the 30s, the 40s, and probably well before. It's probably something that existed before in the the plantation songs that were like the origin for blues. The blues came out of. So it's quite well possible that in even in African music and before it came to the Americas, that rapping did exist as a form, and it wouldn't be surprising to me if it existed in Irish drinking songs or wherever throughout the world too. So I'm just saying that if you want to cram all these words into your lines, it's you're gonna have to do some kind of rap music, or you're gonna have to change the melody line and expand it. Um, I was also thinking, about old music in like ancient Greece, where like with like Aeschylus and Sophocles, I think a lot of their plays were meant to be recited in song form of some form, and we don't know what a lot of that music sounds like. We just have like I think we just have like a very few limited possibilities of what we think the music sounded like. So we don't know what the music like. So we don't know how sung it was, or how quote unquote rapped it was. Who knows? Um, I was just speculating about all these things in my notes. So let's get back to the song. Do you guys have any comments? Kevin is saying my take is that the lighthouse is looking out for HCE as an invader. I definitely agree with that. It sounds like a great possibility. The Ran is a Celtic song tradition. In more modern times, it is called the Wren. People still go door to door in Ireland on St. Stephen's Day on the Wren. Oh, I've not heard that. I don't know much about Celtic music song tradition. I would love to learn more. So maybe that's something I can explore in future episodes. Love that you bring up rap music with it. Nice take on it. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm just try to include as many things as possible in these videos and take them where they will go. All right. So where are we in this ran? Okay. So after the interjection, lift it, hostie, lift it, ye devil, ye, up with the ran, the rhyming ran. I like the imagery too of like up, like that art or that music or whatever can really elevate the spirit and send you into different dimensions of the spirit, and feeling that you're elevated and so on. And of course, I'm sure alcohol helps too. It was during some. Okay, we're in the next stanza. It was, and at this point, we're well. Let me just read it again, as always. It was during some fresh water garden pumping, or according to the nursing mirror, while admiring the monkeys, that our heavyweight heathen Humphrey made bold a maid to woo. Woo hoo! What'll she do? The general lost her maiden Lou. Okay, so this is something I like in songs where you kind of shift into new territory, and we're providing. It's a way of like I've been learning to program Python, and there's ways that you format code, and I think culture has ways that we format things as well, and that we have declarations that indicate new. It's just a way of formatting and allowing us to have cleaner code, I guess you might say. So I think with this, where Hosti is just providing a specific circumstance, but he says it was during some fresh water garden pumping. I have no idea what that means. I mean, I know what a garden is, and I know it needs water, but water garden pumping, is it adding water to the garden? Is it taking water away? And it's some kind of fluid process. I know Joyce liked the image of water. He includes it a lot in the first word, river run of Finnegans Wake, but also in Ulysses, Bloom was a water lover, and we have that great part in, I think it's in Eumaeus, where he talks about Bloom being a lover of water in all its forms. So, so it was during some fresh water garden pumping, or according to the nursing mirror, while admiring the monkeys. So, the nursing mirror, the annotation we have is. I wish I had. I don't have the Finnegans Wake annotations, unfortunately, with me. Actually, we don't have any annotation for that. But my impression is that it's some kind of a newspaper. Sounds like a newspaper name, right? But it also sounds like a very ridiculous name for a newspaper, right? It sounds like a very McLuhan-esque idea, like that media is a nursing mirror. It's something that kind of guides us and coaxes us, kind of steers us in a specific direction and helps us along. But it also acts as a mirror to see ourselves. And I was also thinking of what's the Greek myth where the guy sees himself in the water. I'm blanking on it. Yeah, Narcissus. To be narcissistic is to stare at yourself in the mirror. So I always like to remind people, though, with the myth of Narcissus, is that he wasn't aware that it was another person. He thought it was. He thought it was another person. He wasn't looking at it as a mirror. He was seeing it as another person. So that is this kind of idea that within all the forms, there's this like universal context of the spirit that sees itself, that manifests as the multitudinous forms that are not totally aware that they are themselves, that they are the same form underneath it all. So that's what I saw in that nursing mirror reference. I doubt that there's any other reference to a nursing mirror in Finnegans Wake, but there could be, for all I know. But I feel like Joyce doesn't like to repeat himself. He has this. I read this book when I was like about 13 years old, Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming by Stephen LaBerge, and it's a great book, Introduction to Lucid Dreaming. And sorry, but lucid dreaming, if you guys don't know, and you should check it out because it's a great thing to explore, is that that you can get better at remembering your dreams first, but then you can realize that you're dreaming while you're dreaming, and once you're there, you can do whatever you want. It's like the ultimate virtual reality. But one thing in dreams that one way to test if you're dreaming, if you're ever unsure, and you should test periodically just to see if you're dreaming, is there's a lot of different ways, but one way is to look at some writing, look at some text, and then kind of look away from it, take a second, and then look back and see, has the text changed? Because when you're dreaming, there's something about an inability to hold on to text, or to hold on to everything. Everything is constantly flowing. It's this river run that Joyce is talking about. So I think if you're not sure if you're dreaming, take a look at some text. It was during some fresh water garden pumping. I'm going to use that as my sample text. I look away. I look back. It was during some fresh water garden pumping. Okay, it hasn't changed, so I'm probably not dreaming. But yeah, so that's, I just wanted to mention that. Oh, so yeah, that I bring that up in context with the nursing mirror because Joyce brings these terms into the story that sound like something that he might include later on, but he usually doesn't. It's the nature of the flux that things are constantly changing. So Chimpton, Humphrey Chimpton Earwicker, was either doing one or the other. He was either doing something watering the garden or taking water out of the garden. I kind of like the idea of just taking water out of the garden, that he was like extracting it to steal to use for some scheme, but it could well be that he was watering it as well. Or, according to the nursing mirror, this tabloid rag while admiring the monkeys. And this kind of goes back to what I mentioned in a previous episode about his name, Humphrey Chimpton Earwicker, containing these three different forms. The Humphrey being like Humpty Dumpty, the egg, and then Chimpton being the more like the monkey animal form, and then Earwicker being like kind of this human form. I think that's what Earwicker was referring to. Oh, you know what? Let me take a step back because I haven't even talked about why is this called the Ballad of Persse O'Reilly. There's no reference in the entire thing to any Percy, or Persse O'Reilly. So what is that about? And Persse O'Reilly is, I guess. Let me see the annotations. Actually, no, in the the Wikipedia entry, I'll just read you what it says. So the title itself is a pun because Persse O'Reilly is... Okay, so it's what it says. The title is in the guise of an Irish name. Percy was Lady Gregory's maiden name. Lady Gregory was a sort of patron of the arts, helped William Butler Yeats and others, helped establish the theater and so on, seen in Ireland. So, but Persse O'Reilly is French for earwig. And earwig is a theme or image throughout the book for HCE. So the title itself is a pun. And it also says the earwig reference does invite another pun, which is that of incest, which links to other themes in Finnegans Wake. All right. So, yeah, I can't believe I didn't even mention that. So, but back to our hay-headed philosopher. So he was admiring the monkeys. So I like that image of HCE admiring the monkeys because it's like he's fluctuating between his human nature and his animal nature, and he can't decide which. Sometimes he's in service to the water, the spirit, but sometimes he's admiring the more human nature. So according to the nursery mirror, while admiring the monkeys, that our heavyweight heathen Humphrey made bold a maid to woo. Now, why is he a heavyweight? In what sense is he a heavyweight? Like a boxer? One above average weight is what the text says. So it could be like he's again, there's this ambiguity. Is he a heavyweight? Is he in good shape like a boxer, or is he like obese? Is he like who knows? But he's a heathen, which has like this outsider context, like we mentioned before, with coming from Norway or Scandinavia somewhere. Made bold a maid to woo. So he tried to woo a maid. And then the chorus says, woo-hoo, what'll she do? The general lost her maid in lieu. Woo-hoo, what she'll do? That just seems like how's she going to respond to his wooing? But the general lost her maid in lieu. What does this mean? The annotation says general servant, maid of all work. I don't know if I am totally on board with that annotation. The general lost her maid in lieu. What is a maid in lieu? Uh, maid in lieu. Waterloo and lieu is what the annotation says. I don't know. I'm not totally clear on what that means. What do you guys think for the general lost her maid in lieu? Oh, so we have quite a few notes from you guys. Let's see what you guys say. So, Al Ohm is saying, I agree. I like that one scholar said Joyce attempted to modernize English in one night. Good comment. Alan says, I lucid dream a lot. Flying dreams, astral projection, etc. since I was a kid. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. That's another great point that you bring up, Alan, is that dreaming is sort of something that doesn't follow the usual trajectory of education and maturity and learning, in that you don't kind of have to be like a child's dreams and an adult's dreams are just as kind of equally valid and equally sophisticated and equally childish and equally it just contains all the levels, all and everything. And like, you seem to be sort of stepping outside of your own chronological age when you dream. They don't seem to be tied to your it seems to encompass like your entire life. And I think that's what I see in Finnegans Wake, is that it incorporates childhood themes and adult themes and old themes, like everything, all and everything. So Al Ohm says it is also from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which Joyce mentions. It is to witness the change of state, bardo in Tibetan, active imagination in Jung. Yeah, I know Tibetan that has a lot of Tibetan dream. What's it called? Dream work or dream. There are techniques in Tibetan. I think Buddhist traditions that are. I have not read the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I would like to see at some point. Active imagination to Jung. Kevin says it might be urinating in the garden. Oh yeah, that's another point. Water garden pumping. That's. I think urination, penis themes are always throughout the book. Kevin also says that would link to his disgrace, which has leading to his downfall. Yeah, so if he, the garden, I think we can also wonder if Phoenix Park is the garden too. And I don't think there's a clear-cut boundary with these things, because a garden could be like a person's house, but it could also be the garden at Phoenix Park. It could be, Erica was peeing in the park and some girls saw him peeing and they thought he was like exposing himself to them or something that would lead to his disgrace, which is leading to his downfall. It is also, Kevin also says it's also the O'Reilly. I don't know what that is. The O'Reilly was Irish freedom fighters. Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that. I'm not as up on Irish history as I'd like to be. I need to read some books on Irish history. Al Ohm says heavyweight importance. Yeah, I think that's certainly part of heavyweight. Maiden lieu, virginity. Yeah, I was seeing that, like a maidenhead, taking her maidenhead, maiden lieu, Waterloo, somehow getting a victory, or getting her losing. Yeah, so that is all connected. Waterloo's downfall, so a maiden being a downfall, the downfall of her virginity, downfall of, let's see. Alan says too true. We have two Al's. We have Alan and we have Al, so it's gonna be hard. I'm gonna try and distinguish between you guys and be clear who I'm talking to. Too true. I don't know what you're referring to, Alan, because I wasn't following the chat at the time. But Al Ohm says Waterloo, the end of Napoleon. So the idea of maiden being the end of the man. Yeah, that's also. Tibetan dream yoga. Okay. I read it on my channel. You read the Tibetan Book of the Dead on your channel, Alum. We'll have to check out your channel. Feel free to put your channel link in the chat. I don't know why you can't just click on a person's name in the chat and go to their channel. That was The Disgrace of HC. Okay. Yep. So we're caught up on the chat. I'm going to go back to our next stanza. So let me read it. He ought to blush for himself, the old hay-headed philosopher, for to go and shove himself that way on top of her. Begob, he's the crux of the catalogue of our antediluvial zoo. Messrs. Billing and Coo, Noah's larks, good as new. Okay, so it sounds like he's no longer wooing her, but you know, it's getting kind of Harvey Weinstein. It's getting it's not even we're getting into like Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein territory, and I think this is not just about wooing a woman, but also like him coming from Scandinavia, his culture coming maybe as a cultural force. And I think you can think about this too, as anytime two cultures interact, I think that one of them is going to have more power and more prestige. And there's that term in linguistics, prestige language. Like some languages are esteemed as more, you know, quote unquote, better than others. There's always this sense that one is right, and its grammar, its words, its vocabularies are somehow better, and they will have an effect. I mentioned I'm in Japan, and Japanese has a lot of English loanwords in its language. For example, credit card is credito cardo, and that's just an example of the language kind of pushing itself onto other languages. And I think you can see this as a cultural force whenever two cultures interact. For to go and shove himself that way on top of her, but it's also could be, you know, HCE in the park. Like, is he just exposing himself to these girls? Is he somehow, you know, doing something wrong? Begob, he's the crux of the catalog. Begob is just some kind of means like by God, right? A mild oath, by God, yeah. He's the crux of the catalog of our antediluvial zoo. So crux, I was thinking about this. This is an interesting word, crux, because I looked it up. It's one of those words where you think you know what it means, and then you look it up and it's not, it means more, or it means not quite what you think it means. So where did I write my notes? I thought I wrote something about crux. Oh, okay, here we are. Crux of the catalog. So I wrote in my notes, I thought that crux was like a problem. That's the crux. That's the issue. That's how I thought it meant. But here's the definition, or one of the several definitions. And so one definition: a vital, basic, decisive, or pivotal point. The crux, and here's an example: the crux of the trial was his whereabouts at the time of the murder. That's the crux. That's what it hinges on. Another definition is like a cross, like, you know, like Christianity, a cross, the crux, like crucifix also. And then here's another definition, which this one's really interesting: something that torments by its puzzling nature, a perplexing difficulty. And then we have this part. In Latin, crux referred literally to an instrument of torture, often a cross or a stake, and figuratively to the torture and misery inflicted by means of such an instrument. Crux eventually developed the sense of a puzzling or difficult problem that was the first meaning that was used when the word entered English in the early 18th century. Later, in the 19th century, crux began to be used more specifically to refer to an essential point of a legal case that required resolution before the case could be resolved. Today, The verdict on crux is that it can be used to refer to any important part of a problem or argument inside or outside of the courtroom. I was thinking too that it was in Shakespeare, that it was in Hamlet's soliloquy, to be or not to be. But I think I was thinking of there's the rub, not there's the crux. So Merriam-Webster says it wasn't first used until 1718. So it's not even in Shakespeare. But the key point that I'm making is that crux is a problem, but it's also like the decisive, basic, essential point of something. So HCE as this very problematic character is also an essential part of the puzzle of humanity, history, whatever. That something that torments us, all our struggles, all our pains, is also an essential part of the puzzle. And I think I always want to connect this back to like Plato and descent from pure forms into this debased or more problematic forms of matter, and that out of our pain and struggle is something is emerging, like the emergence of these is what allows these things to exist, like compassion and pity and so on, that would not exist otherwise. That the creation of history in one moment as a whole is, it's to live it is frustrating and painful, but from the point of view of these higher forms, there's no time, so it all happens at once, and it's the only thing that's experiencing it. So it's not like it's subjecting itself to, or it's not like it's subjecting these creatures to this pain, because it's the one that's experiencing it. It's the one that's descending into matter and having this choice, and it's the one that doesn't have to be afraid and doesn't have to feel shame or whatever, because the only thing that's experiencing it in this, again, back to Narcissus, as when it's split into all these forms, it's not aware that it's seeing itself in the mirror, but from the point of view of spirit, that it can see it's the only thing experiencing it, and it's the only one interacting, and it's the only one having all this conflict with itself, as some kind of like the body is composed of all these cells, but there's one overall personality or spirit. Anyways, that's my wrap on it. Let's see what you guys have to say in the comments. I got the spelling. Michael Joseph O'Reilly. That was, according to Al Ohm, according to Kevin Smith, this is a Irish freedom fighter. All right. Bardolph Thodel was on the channel. Yes, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That's it. That's the Tibetan name. I would love to learn Tibetan. I love the writing. It's fascinating looking. To minimize trolling. Oh, you can't put a. I see what you're saying. You can't click on a person's name. Yeah, but I think you can put a link. Feel free to post a link to your channel, and I'll check it out. But I can also search on YouTube. English is all loan words. Yeah, it's true. Pretty much. Well, English is a lot of words. We get a lot of words from French, a lot of words from Latin, from Greek, all over the place. German. English is a Germanic language, but if you read Anglo-Saxon, it's unreadable to most people without help, and I can't read it. I would love to learn to read Anglo-Saxon as well. Read Beowulf in the original. The center of the meaning. The center of the meaning. Minor HCE, and here's the crux. Yeah, it's not quite a HCE, but we have H again, this is where you can kind of get Kabbalistic about it and rotate the letters, but here's the crux. It can be a problem or a need. Crux was crossed staves, I believe. Predates crucifixion. Okay. May well be. Anyways, that's my long rap on crux. Let's get back to the crux of this song, this rand. Let's see, where are we? He's the crux of the catalog. So HCE is this pivotal problem, but he's also a critical figure, an important figure of our antediluvial zoo. Antediluvial just means after the flood. So since Noah, of all the creatures, HCE, and I think this is where we're talking about HCE as a representative of humanity. He's the key figure. You know, of all the animals on the planet Earth, humans are the key figure because this is like a Miltonian concept from like Paradise Lost, that humans are the only one capable of having this fall, because nature is not, doesn't have the sense of consciousness that we do. Like, a dog or a cat may have a sense of consciousness, but not the way that humans do. It's definitely on another level and in a different way. And like, I think I've mentioned this before. Like, we don't think of, we're not going to think of any cat or dog or fish or bat or whatever as evil. Like, nobody thinks of an evil. It may be like mean or maybe vicious, but we don't think of them as evil. Like, only humans are able to be classified as evil because we have this we're capable of this fall. We've been expelled from Eden. We've expelled from nature in a way that we can have self-consciousness of ourselves, of our planet, of our species in a way that animals cannot. And then the chorus says, Messrs. Billing and Coo, Noah's larks, good as new. I'm not clear what Billing and Coo is. That's Mr. Messrs. Is just plural of Mr. What is Billing and Coo, though? Any ideas, you guys? What's Billing and Coo? The comments on the Finnegans says, to bill and coo means to interchange caresses, said of doves, also of demonstrative lovers. To bill and coo. So I guess we could see this as, again, going back to the theme of the cultural theme of this outsider wooing our culture, or this outsider just wooing any society. Also billing, though, I think of like charging you for like kind of using marketing or tactics, and connecting with like the modern internet. I love the idea of marketing is fascinating to me. Like, I've done a fair amount of marketing in whatever I do online, so it's something I think about. And it's kind of like when I do videos now, or when I do music, that having done like videos and music, when I watch other people's movies or videos or hear music, I just see things in a totally different way. Same with marketing, that I see marketing everywhere, wherever I'm. It's everywhere, and it's obnoxious, but it's something we all deal with, and we're all there. Marketing is a form of kind of trying to woo us, but it can also be, if it tries to exceed its bounds, it can be to the form of like rape, or it's not pleasant marketing. So good marketing is where, kind of like good relationships with others, where like we're connected with the people that we want to be connected with. Like, we feel like we've discovered something out there that we actually want to acquire, that is worth buying. Whereas bad marketing is like forcing itself on you, and it's like trying to get you to buy something that you don't need or want. Noah's larks, good as new. Again, this goes back to the antediluvian. Noah's Larks is punning on Noah's Ark, of course. The ark in which Noah and his family, of course, we know that. Good as new. The annotation says this is like now and new. Good as now, good as new. Yeah, I think that's all I have to really say on that stanza. Do you guys have any other comments? Let's see. Lucas says, probably that's already been said. Something to do with the sound of doves. Yeah, and also doves in Noah's Arks. I think, wasn't it a dove that he sends out to see if there's land? Like Noah says, like, I'm going to send this dove. Was it a dove? I just want to confirm that. Let's see. Noah, dove. Genesis 8:6. But the dove could find nowhere to perch. Yeah, so Noah sends out a dove. So I think that will definitely tie in well. Al Ohm is saying tender nuzzles, love language, or even reference to relationship with God, similar to Clara of Assisi. I don't know who Clara of Assisi is. I know St. Francis of Assisi. So I'm going to look who is Clara of Assisi. Saint Clare of Assisi. It's an Italian saint. One of the first followers of Francis of Assisi, she founded the Order of Poor Ladies, a monastic religious order for women in the Franciscan tradition, and wrote their Rule of Life. Okay, so you're saying that tender nuzzle. I'm not clear how it's connected though to Clare of Assisi, but again, I'm not familiar with her well enough, so maybe if you feel free to clarify. That is very good, Lucas and Al. Al says, she used the image of a carnal relationship with the Lord as allusion to our yoking to the divine, yoga reference. Oh, okay, interesting. It would link to the chapter with Tristan and Isolde. Oh yeah, Alice clarifying the dove reference. Okay, so I think we're all caught up, y'all. Let's go on to the next stanza, which is here we go. So we're talking about HCE again, of course. He was jolting by Wellington's monument, our rotorious hippopotamons, when some bugger let down the backtrap of the omnibus. I think in my version I actually read it as backstrap, but I kind of like the idea that I messed it up too. When some bugger let down the backtrap of the omnibus, and he caught his death of Fusiliers. With his rent in his rears, give him 6 years! Okay, so he was jolting by Wellington's monument. Jolting? What is jolting? To jolt, it says, to ride with constant jolts of a vehicle, to move along with succession of jolts. Jolt is Anglo-Irish for journey, according to this. One moment, you guys. I think I need some water. All right, I did some fresh water garden pumping. I have my tea now. So HCE was jolting by Wellington's monument. Wellington's monument is, I think I talked about this in my Ulysses course. Let's see, Wellington's monument, Dublin. Oh no, I'm mistaken. I was thinking of the monument that used to be on the main street in Dublin. But Wellington Monument is a different monument. It's the one that's in Phoenix Park in the shape of an obelisk. I'm trying to remember when I went to Phoenix Park when I was in Dublin last time. I'm pretty sure I went to this monument. It's been so long. It's really big though. And Phoenix Park itself is really large. So in other words, HCE was by Wellington's monument in Phoenix Park. He was jolting. He was there doing something. He was pumping along or whatever. Our Rhetorius hippopotamons. So Rhetorius sounds like notorious and sound like kind of riotous. Hippopotamons, of course, hippopotamus, but what else is sandwiched in this word? Hippopotamons. I'm not really clear. I wanted to mention when I first saw hippopotamons, the first thing I thought of was an album by the musician Momus. He has an album called Hippopotamomus. If you guys don't know Momus, you guys should all go subscribe to his YouTube channel because he's probably our greatest living songwriter. Let me give you guys a link. I've mentioned him on my channel before, but I don't know if I've mentioned him in my Finnegans Wake or Ulysses series. But he's one of those people I so admire his work and his character and the way that he makes art that I will plug him any chance I can because you guys need to check out his work. He's like Mark Lehner. He's somebody I admire so much. But go subscribe to Momus. He's a very literary dude, very funny guy, very smart. And so, anyways, he had an album called Hippopotamomus, and I'm curious because he also had he writes too, and he wrote a memoir called Niche, in which he talks about his each of the chapters in Niche is written in the style of a different author or person, and one of the people is James Joyce, I believe. So he's definitely influenced by James Joyce, and I'm curious though if he took this word hippopotamomus, or he kind of changed it for his music name Momus, if he took it from Finnegans Wake, or if he just came upon it independently. That's something I'd be curious to know. But anyways, go check out Momus and his work. He's incredible and a very smart guy. He puts music and thought pieces all over his channel. Okay, so back to our Rhetorius hippopotamus moments, not Momus. Okay, so he was jolting by Wellington's monument, our Rhetorius hippopotamus, when some bugger let down the back trap of the omnibus. So the omnibus, I think, is like I think of like a little carriage like a horse-drawn carriage. Yeah, a four-wheeled. Oh no, it says a four-wheeled public vehicle. So I don't know, some kind of vehicle. Lets down the back trap of the omnibus. Lets down the back of the omnibus. So it kind of lowered the top of the vehicle, whatever vehicle it was, and he caught his death of Fusiliers. Usually you think you caught his death of cold, or you catch a cold or something, but he caught his death of Fusiliers. Fusiliers. This is again, it's like some military term that I don't really barely understand. Fusilier is protection forces, so some kind of guard or soldier. Caught his death of Fusiliers. So I think, if I remember correctly, that we'll get more details in the rest of the book, that some soldiers see him with his rent in his rears. Give him 6 years. This is very ambiguous for me. Like, what is going on? Like, HCE was exposing himself, and some soldiers see him doing this. And was he exposing himself to these girls? Was he doing something? Like, what is happening here? Very vague and ambiguous. And I think Joyce wanted it this way because this is what human history is. This is what human media is. It's very ambiguous and prone to rumors and conjecture and so on. Whatever happened, with his rent in his rears. Rent in his rears also sounds like, rent, like paying his rent. He's in arrears, but Joyce changed it in his rears, which of course sounds like his rear end. His buttocks or backside, according to the annotations. Give him 6 years. So also ultimately, like this quick judgment, we see something in the what's that section of Ulysses that's written as a play, the Circe, Circe episode of Ulysses, where Bloom he's kind of being elevated to this like wonderful figure, this political figure, but then the tide turns against him and he gets taken down and knocked off his stool and says like he's a cad, he's a rogue, and so on. So I think we see some similar narrative arc with HCE here going on. Like initially maybe he's kind of esteemed, but then rumors spread and things happen and the tide turns against him. This is a common theme in history. Whoever's in power, he will be brought down. He or she will be brought down. Do I have anything more to add about this part? Do you guys have anything to add? Let's see, we're at... Okay. I think like a big bus. Yeah, it could be like a big bus. And that leads to a shameful results. The Fusiliers had peculiar hair, did they? I wasn't aware of that. Fusilier is soldier, meaning a rifleman. For once, the rent in the rears is just behind on the rent, I think. I think it's both. I think it's both, like, not being able to pay your... Not meeting your payments on time, but it's also a rent, also like clothing could be rent, like rip, like you have a rent in his years. And this, I'm recalling some story about when Joyce was working, I believe, at a bank. Do you guys know this story where he was so poor and he had so few clothes? He only had like one decent pair of pants, and he had to wear the same pants every day. And so he had like a coat, and the pants had like a rent in their rears. He had like a rip in the back of the pants. And Joyce had a coat, an overcoat that would hide the back so it wouldn't see that he was... But he would have to wear it all day, even when it was hot. And that's the kind of frustrating thing that Joyce had to deal with in his early poverty days. So I think rent in his rears can definitely include a rip in the back of your pants. Mistakes for girls, possibly them being mistakes for girls. HCE was based a lot on his father, who was constantly behind on the rent. Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. Sounds like Kipling to me. Danny Deever. I don't know what Danny Deever is, but is that something like from the Jungle Book? I read the Jungle Book a long time ago, but I read Kim too, that other Kipling book, but I don't know what Danny Deever is. I know Joyce was familiar with Kipling though. 6 is just enough. Six what? The rent is also to separate. Yeah, to separate like the back of the pants. I wrote something that was censored by the program. Really, I'm not clear why what would... the only thing I think I don't know if you tried to include a link. Maybe it doesn't include links. I don't censor. I haven't edited any chat. So if something was removed, I haven't removed it. So far, I haven't done any editing in the chat, any censoring. Okay, let's move on. So here we are. Okay, the next stanza reads, "'Tis sore pity for his innocent poor children, but look out for his Mrs. Legitimate. When that Frew gets a grip of old Earwicker, won't there be earwigs on the green? Big earwigs on the green, the largest ever you seen." All right, so I think this one is pretty straightforward. It's basically saying HCE, his children, his 2 sons, Shem and Sean, and his daughter, Issy, too bad for them because they have to deal with his father. This is kind of, one of you had mentioned Joyce's father. Joyce had a big family, of brothers and sisters that would have to deal with their father. Mm. But look out for his Mrs. Legitimate. This is Anne Olivia Pluribel, of course. When that Fru gets a grip of old earwicker, I thought Fru was maybe a real word, but I couldn't find it in the dictionary, any dictionary. But I like how we pretty much immediately know its meaning. It kind of has like a, I don't know, like a kind of like a haggish, kind of frustrated, angry woman feel to it. Won't there be earwigs on the green? Now this part, earwig is, a major image, theme, motif, whatever you want to call it, throughout the book. Earwigs being these insects, but I'm not clear what earwigs on the green would mean. Let's see if we have any annotations. Wigs on the green, according to the annotations, the phrase wigs, not earwigs, but wigs on the green, like a wig, is a sharp altercation coming to blows. Interesting. Wigs being liable to fall or be pulled off in a fray. So back in the day, like in the 1700s, when people wore wigs, to have your wigs on the green. So, in other words, when Anne Olivia Pluribel, Earwicker's wife, gets a grip or gets her hands on old Earwicker, won't there be earwigs on them? Won't there be there's going to be a fight. There's going to be a tussle of some sort because he's just like a rogue who's let all these things come to pass when who did something in the park, and was he exposing himself to these women and so on. Like Anne Olivia Pluribel, she's going to be furious. She's going to get her hands on his throat and throttle him. Big earwigs on the green, the largest ever you've seen. So some major tussle's going to happen. And then we get another interjection from the audience. Sophocles, Shakespeare, Suodonto, Anonymosis. And each of these are puns on famous writers or bards throughout history. Sophocles being Sophocles, the author of Oedipus Rex and other plays. But it also connects it to suffocate. Shakespeare being, of course, Shakespeare. But what is shike? What is that pun? Pseudodonto. That means pseudo means false, but I see like Dante. Pseudodonto. I feel like this means something else too that I'm forgetting. I think there's also the pseudo in Ulysses. There's a book that Bloom has by it's like Aristotle, like a false Aristotle. I don't know. And then Anonymous, meaning Moses, of course, but anonymous. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. Let's see where you guys. Sophocles, Dante, yeah, Pseudodonto. Shrew. Oh yeah, Fru. That's what it is. Why it's familiar. Fru just sounds like shrew, like the taming of the shrew and so on. Yeah, great comments, you guys. I think we're ready to go forward. Next section, next stanza. Then we'll have a free trade Gales band and mass meeting for to sod the brave son of Scandinavary, and we'll bury him down in Oxman's town, along with the devil and the Danes. With the deaf and dumb Danes, and all their remains. All right, so sounds like they're basically ready to lynch poor old HCE. We'll have a free trade Gales band and mass meeting. Some kind of an open, unrestricted trade Gales band and mass meeting. Gale just means like Irish, right? Gaelic. For to sod the brave son of... Sod means to cover with sod, but it says also bugger. So basically that they're going to screw him and basically lynch him or some kind of punishment. the brave son of Scandinavia. Scandinavia, of course, being Scandinavia, and knave, like a knave. It's kind of interesting, though, that he calls him a brave son. Why is he calling him brave? That's an interesting thing at this moment. It's like kind of saying that he's. I'm thinking more of like less being like courageous and more like to be bold, like to be bold with the women, to be bold with his activities on our shores. He's brave, but he's like kind of pushing the extremes of what is possible and what he should be doing. Good etiquette, good manners. And we'll bury him down in Oxmanstown. Where's Oxmanstown? Oxmanstown. The notes say, when the Anglo-Normans took over Dublin after 1170, the Danish inhabitants were relegated to the area north of the Liffey called Villa Ostmanarum, the town of the Osman, and it's corrupted to Oxmantown. Okay, I can buy that. And so they're going to bury him in the land. We're going to bury him in the part of the town that is meant for these Anglo-Normans, these outsiders. Along with the devil and Danes. So it's basically we're going to put him. We're going to send him and bury him in the part of the city that we don't like. That is not. It's for outsiders. It's for the devil. It's for the Danes. It's not the good part. With the deaf and dumb Danes and all their remains. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward too. You guys have anything to add about that? Lucas is saying Italian sudate means sweaty. Oh, I did not know that. Sweaty Moses. Oxmantown was a suburb on the north side of Dublin. It is called Smithfield now, says Kevin Smith. Okay. To sod also means to bury. To I don't think you mean like raspberry. I think you mean to bury, B-U-R-Y. The brave son of the empire. Okay. Interesting. Next section we have. Oh, we're on the last section. And not all the king's men nor his horses will resurrect his corpus, for there's no true spell in Connacht or hell that's able to raise a cane. And then, because it says bis, I think that means like, again, I said it twice. It's able to raise a cane, in my version. So anyways, I think this is pretty clear too. And not all the king's men nor his horses is, of course, recalling the Humpty Dumpty theme. Will resurrect his corpus. Every time I read this, I wanted to say will resurrect his porpoise. But yeah, his corpus is just his body. And then Connacht. I looked this up. I wanted to get the pronunciation right when I did the song, and according to my sources, it's pronounced Connacht, not Connacht. I want to pronounce it Connacht, but maybe if there's some Irish speakers here, they can let me know. How would you pronounce that? Is it Connacht, like I pronounced it, or is it more like Connacht? Connacht. There's no true spell in Connacht or hell that's able to raise a cane. So we were talking about this is interesting. He's talking about we're gonna bury HCE. We're gonna send him to this. Basically, we're gonna give him his punishment and get him out of our lands, kill him, whatever, and nothing is gonna bring him back. He's gone for good. No spell in Connacht or hell. And Connacht is just a province in Ireland that's able to raise a cane. Raise a cane. To raise cane is of course in English, an idiom in English that we have means to cause trouble, to raise a spirit of trouble and anger and divisiveness, referring of course to Cain in the Bible, who slew. That's such a weird past tense of slay. Who was guilty of slaying. There, I wanted to avoid slew. I wanted to make it slay. Abel in the Old Testament, But it's interesting when we're talking about raising a Cain in reference to HCE, because Cain was the one that murdered Abel, not he wasn't the one that was murdered. So, but he was after he murdered Abel, he was sent to wander the earth and be a wanderer for all his days. So it's interesting that instead of referring to it as raising Abel, we say raise Cain. So that's all I think I wanted to say. Oh, and again, of course, this also recalls the brother theme throughout Finnegans Wake of Shem and Sean and their antagonism and so on. So I think this is all tied together. And yeah, I think is that all I wanted to say about this? Let me see my notes if I have anything else to add. Yeah, I think those are the main points. And I think even just doing this for me, I've added some clarity to my understanding of this song. I'm looking at my notes. This isn't related to the song, but I mentioned in my last episode that I was talking about how everything, if you look at it, you can find meaning in it. And I saw Will Smith on his Instagram just after I did my last video. He posted something very similar, how everything has something to tell us. And he was kind of mocking it, but kind of also serious about it too. And I just thought that was an interesting synchronicity. I was going to actually show the clip, but I don't have it ready, so I'm not going to. Anyways. Any other questions or comments, you guys? Lucas says, I just finished writing the lyrics to a ballad inspired to the kaleidoscope siglum. Oh, interesting. I'd love to hear that. Yeah, I think making this song or parts of the Wake your own is something that helps a lot and is a lot of fun. Is that possible? I'm looking at the time. It says I've been going for 2 hours. Is that possible? That's incredible if that time is right. But so I guess I've gone on long enough. I think in my next episode, I don't know when the next one's going to be, and I think I'd like to finish reading a shorter Finnegans Wake, which I still have a good ways to go, and then I'd like to get into a new book, and I have several, like I said, that I'm leaning towards. So we'll see where I go with it. Thank you all for showing up again, as always, and yeah, I'm glad we had a good turnout. A lot of good comments from you guys, as always. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Finnegans Wake Action Hour, more other videos relating to books, languages, music, whatever I want to talk about. And yeah, subscribe to my music channel if you want, and I'll do some more Finnegans Wake music or Ulysses music or something. And yeah, and I said I started this early in the morning because I'm in Japan and I wanted to kind of do a good time that works with both Europe and America, and this seemed like a good time. So it seemed like it turned out. I think Lucas is in Italy and I think Alan's in Oregon, so apparently this time was a good time, and I'll probably do it again in the future. So yeah, maybe more Finnegans Wake Action Hour in Japan very soon. But I'm going to end this now, and have a great night, you guys, or morning, or whatever time it is, and we'll see you in future sods.